And hello, welcome to another edition of Vulcan's Football 2015 for the end of the 2015 season, where we break down last week's game against Gannon, look at the standings, and break down this upcoming week's opponent with Mercyhurst. I'm your host, Gary Smith, and as always, every Tuesday morning, I'm joined by California University Sports Information Director and #1 Toronto Blue Jays fan, Matt Kiefer. Matt, before we talk about Vulcan football, let's break down the World Series. What do you think? Do you think the Jays, if they would have gotten the World Series, would have handed it to the Mets like the Royals did?
I don't know about that. The late inning heroics of the Royals were something for the ages there. Anytime you have Harvey, Syndergaard, and everyone else they had in the offense, Cespedes getting hurt obviously didn't help. But it was a great series there. Glad for Kansas City to get one. Only unfortunate thing is both times they've won it, they've beaten the Blue Jays in the championship series, so I'm not real happy with that idea. But at least Kansas City got one. But it'll be interesting to see the next 2 or 3 years. They're not going to keep everybody. It's one of those markets. They have all this young talent, and they have a couple big free agents this year. They just won't be able to sign everybody. Sort of like Tampa Bay, Oakland, that kind of thing. You enjoy the ride while you have it, but at some point you know it's going to end pretty soon.
I'm going to call it right now. The 2016 World Series will be the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm calling it right now.
It's an even year. It's got to be the Giants.
Darn it, never mind. Then 2017, Andrew McCutcheon's last year with the Pirates, will be the Pirates and the Blue Jays. But that's a few years in the future, and let's get back to the task at hand, Vulcan football. Matt, this last week, California made the always entertaining road trip to Gannon, downtown Erie, Pennsylvania, about 4 blocks from Lake Erie. And the first time since Gannon has joined the conference and Cal's been in there has not been rain, wind, or snow. It was actually a very beautiful fall afternoon at McConnell Family Stadium.
I think it's one of those things right now, you walk outside, we should be talking basically Cal baseball or Cal softball. It's just been that kind of, 4 or 5 day stretch here. But anytime you get a fast start like the Vulcans did, 7-0 there in the first drive, and then you get the turnover, almost got another touchdown. But the way they were rolling the first half, you knew that game was over pretty quickly. And then once Liam Nadler went out late in the half, you knew that Gannon was probably just playing its way out and just seeing what they maybe had next year with Zach Phillips at quarterback.
And this was a game, I mean, we coming into the game, there's a lot of playoff implications, both teams jockeying to try and stay in the Super Region 1 discussion. We'll look at those updated standings and rankings later. But California, you could tell from whenever they got off the bus, they were focused and down to business, because where the setup is at Gannon, we basically have to walk through the locker room, very small locker room at McConnell Family Stadium. And there was really no joking around everything. It was just, let's get taped up, let's get warm-ups, and let's get to the kickoff, because, we're going to do bad things to Gannon.
It's one of those things. I think there's a lot of people on this roster from last year that saw Gannon end up getting a share of the West without playing the Vulcans for obvious reasons that everybody basically knows about. It was one of those get-back kind of games. One of those things. Cal was really rolling last year and had the momentum, maybe looking to make an NCAA playoff berth. Things just fell apart basically at the end of the season with the loss to Mercyhurst and then the forfeit with Gannon. But it's one of those things that they were not letting the Golden Knights get a victory this year and still maybe put themselves in position for the NCAA rankings. Gannon just reached the regional rankings for first time in school history that week and then quickly fell out of them.
And I think that was probably circled going into the game, because California came out. Go down the field, like you mentioned, 7-0. But the defense played outstanding, forcing turnovers, big hits. It was probably one of the best complete game efforts last 2 weeks, really, because the game against Clarion on homecoming, big hits, turnovers, more of the same on Saturday.
I think it's one of those things anytime as a defensive coordinator and head coach would be looking at, you get 6 turnovers in a game, you definitely like your chances, and if you don't win those games, there's probably something wrong. But that's something that's been the case with Cal the last 2 weeks, forcing 6 turnovers in each game, leading to some high offense there, scoring 42 points each of the last 2 weeks after not even reaching 40 all year long. Partly because they took out some players in some games they could have reached 40, but being able to hit 40, that's definitely a benchmark there. If you hit that and you have a +6 turnover margin in each game, basically, you're going to really like your chances.
And this was another game on the offense for California. It wasn't just 1 or 2 players doing the job. The passing game was spread around. You had Kawan Scott going bonkers in the secondary, Gary Brown doing a great job. And then the running game, you had every running back contributing again. And this time of year, if you have that kind of flexibility in your attack, that's great.
You look at the numbers. I think Cal's rushed for over 200 yards each of the last 2 weeks. It's had an incredible balance. James Harrison might be putting up the 300-yard games that he maybe did earlier this season, but it's one of those things that's creating more of a balance with the offense there. Gary Brown's getting his touches, Kawan Scott's getting his touches, Jimmy Wheeler and Franklin in the backfield. It's just one of those things. There's so many different options you can go to. Where before the beginning of the year you thought, okay, it's going to be definitely a pass-heavy offense. with the injury of Nick Grissom. Well, Franklin and Wheeler have come out and been a nice 1-2 tandem, almost like Roberson and Grissom were last year, giving Vulcans that stability in the backfield.
Well, the other thing with the yardage, a couple times California got the ball deep in Gannon territory after turnovers. So that kind of really hurts for the yardages. It's not like the old days of Tecmo where you're trying to get 300 yards, you can run backwards and get those extra yards. But the defense setting up the offense, and Gannon really had no answers.
I think it's one of those things. You look at the defensive line. You had Justin Baker and Earl Brewster both had a couple sacks in that game, so they were get pressure on the quarterback. And then the secondary, good coverage throughout. And then if there's a tip ball or anything like that, they find a way to get to the ball. These last few weeks, a lot of different guys are getting interceptions. A lot of big ball hawks out there helping out those turnover margins, hoping the Vulcans get to one of the top teams in the PSAC in terms of interceptions this year, which anytime you do that, you're definitely going to be happy with your defense.
It's definitely been a lot easier cutting the highlights the last couple weeks because we always try and put every scoring play and every interception and turnover, and you'll see in the highlights here in a few seconds that California checked off everything there, turnovers, interceptions. So let's take a look back to this past Saturday's afternoon action against Gannon in downtown Erie, PA, where the California Vulcans defeated the Gannon Golden Knights. And after the commercial break, you'll see highlights of last year's shootout against this coming week's opponent, Mercyhurst. You're watching Vulcans Football 2015 right here on CUTV.
Harris looking to pass now. Pass is complete to Gary Brown for the touchdown. The score now 6-0 in favor of California with 11:02 remaining in the first quarter. Looking to pass. Noddler under pressure. Ball is out. Who has it? It is California football, so a huge play for the California defense. Harris takes it and hands it off to Franklin. Franklin finds a lane, and is he in for the end zone? Fumble on the play. There's a fumble on the play as Gannon picks it up as a touchback. Noddler takes it. This time, play action. And it's tipped, but intercepted by California. So 2 straight turnovers, basically, for these two teams. Harris takes the snap, looking to pass. Going deep down the field into the end zone. And it's... Did he catch it? It is complete for a touchdown for California. Play action pass. He's going deep down the field for Kawan Scott, and he's open. Kawan Scott gets the pass, and he's trying to break a few tackles, and he does. And he is going all the way for the touchdown. Huge pass by Harris to Kawan Scott. Harris takes it, hands it off to Franklin. Franklin finds a hole, and he's going to be into the end zone for the California touchdown. Harris takes it, hands it off to Fiore. Fiore keeps it himself. It's a read option play. There's Harris, takes it himself into the end zone for the touchdown. California now up big here. 10 seconds on the play clock. Phillips looking to Jones. Jones completes it. He's gonna get into the end zone for the touchdown. Phillips now looking to pass, going down the field, and it's picked off by California. That is number 10, Jordan Bowman. Quarterback hands it off, and it's a touchdown for Gannon. That is number 25, Brock Jones, his first touchdown of the game. Harris takes it, hands it off to Wheeler. Wheeler's trying to find some room, and he does. And he gets to the outside, and Wheeler's got one man to beat. And he gets into the end zone for the California touchdown. Almost couldn't see it there. Phillips looking to pass. Goes down the field. It's going to be intercepted by number 22. Thrown right to him. That was Isaiah Scott on the play. Takes the snap. Hands it. Fake handoff. And it's intercepted by Gannon. That's number 23 on the play. Foster Resner. Johnson again looking to pass Phillips, and it's complete to number 7, Justin Ham on the slant route. So the score now 20 for Gannon and 42 for California. Takes the snap. Looking to pass again. That's picked off by the California Vulcans. That is there's a penalty flag flying. That was number 5, Brendan Blair.
face your fear. When it all come down to this, you only get one shot, can't afford to miss. The time is now, the place is here. Stop running, face your fear. When it all come down to this, you only get one shot, can't afford to miss. So, let's get it, let's go. Go hard and go home.
Since 1937, the Student Association Incorporated, known as SAI, has served the Cal U student body by providing activities, programs, and services. Every enrolled student has the ability to take part in over 125 different clubs and organizations. Managing participation in every SAI activity is easy with OrgSync, a powerful tool for staying connected. Located 1 mile from campus, the SAI farm has 94 acres of meeting and recreational space. SAI, it's your student association. For almost 30 years, CUTV has been the campus and community home for local news, sports, and entertainment. Broadcast in 100,000 homes in southwestern Pennsylvania, CUTV provides complete coverage of Vulcan sports as well as high school football coverage. Broadcast weekly live, CUTV News Center provides coverage of local and campus events, weekend weather, sports highlights, and feature stories. For more information on CUTV, check us out on the web, friend us on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter.
Harris out of the shotgun. Play action. Passes to his left. It's caught at the 9. Come on, Scott. Swerving in and out of the fence. The ball crossed the pylon, and he's into the end zone. The kick is up. And it splits the uprights. It is good. So Mercyhurst gets on the board. Harris under center. Hands it off to Roberson. Roberson weaving in and out of the defense. Fights his way for the end zone, and he gets there for the California touchdown. Takes the snap, rolling out to his right, looking to pass, fires into the end zone, and it's caught for the Laker touchdown. The 4th down gamble pays off. As Boylan, it looks like, kept it for himself this time, and he's into the end zone for the Mercyhurst Laker touchdown. He hands off to his running back. That's Roberson pushing through, and he's into the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown. Boylan under center, looking to pass. Throws it into the end zone, and it's caught for the Laker touchdown. Takes the snap, play action, looking to pass. Pumps, now guns it down the middle towards the end zone, and it is caught in the end zone for the Laker touchdown. Harris dropping back to pass. Guns it to the near side. That is intercepted right at midfield. He's across the 40, taken down out of bounds inside the 40-yard line. Under center, dropping back to pass. Looking left, airmails it into the corner of the end zone, and it is caught in the far corner of the end zone for the Laker touchdown. Harris out of the shotgun, play action, fires far side. That one's caught. Across the 30, across 35, 40, across midfield, to the 40, to the 30, big block there, 20, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, touchdown, California. Boylan dropping back to pass, looking near side, that one's caught, he scrambles and gets into the end zone for the Laker touchdown. Harris out of the shotgun, dropping back to pass, fires it again down the middle, and that one's caught by Gary Brown. He's weaving through the defense, inside the 10, inside the 5, and into the end zone for the California touchdown. Here we go. Harris hands it off to his running back, dives forward, and gets into the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown. 6 more points get added onto the board. Dropping back to pass. Guns it down the middle. Does he have his man? Yes, he does. Caught inside the 20. 10-5 touchdown. Mercyhurst. A big explosive play from Boylan. Harris out of the shotgun, dropping back to pass. Looking right. Airmails it near side. That one is going to be caught inside the 10. Gary Brown into the end zone for the California touchdown. Boylan hands it off to his running back. Spinning in and out of the defense and into the end zone for the Laker touchdown. Looking left, fires it down the middle. That's going to be bobbled, intercepted by Mercyhurst.
And welcome back to Vulcan's Football 2015. Right there you saw the highlights of a wild, wild game up at Erie, Pennsylvania's Mercyhurst Tallulah Field. 108 points combined last year, Matt, and that was a game that, we've both seen a lot of football, but I don't think we've seen an offensive output for both teams like that ever. A lot of records broken that game last year.
That's a game there. Our two basketball programs, Mercyhurst and Cal Men's, would struggle to score that many points because those are two defensive stalwarts. That's what they pride themselves on the basketball court. But it's one of those things there. Both quarterbacks broke the score records for passing yards. Gary Brown broke it for receiving yards. I think the Yarborough from Mercyhurst broke it for receiving yards and receptions. It's one of those things. I think if they would have kept playing until it was dark, each team probably would have been about 100, 150 points. And
it was weird watching the highlights back when I was putting them in the computer for the show today. I remember a few things from that game. I remember it being bitterly cold. I remember a lot of points being scored. But it seemed like a lot of those points were scored in the third and fourth quarter. It didn't seem like that first half was a lot of explosion. And all of a sudden, I guess you get some hot chocolate in you at halftime and come back out, and boom, balls being thrown all over the place, people breaking tackles. I mean, it was an exciting game to watch.
I mean, there had to have been, I bet, 4 or 5 touchdowns in that game, at least 50 yards. Gary Brown had 2 or 3 there. Yarborough had a couple. Kimball made a couple huge plays on defense there with interceptions, including that one to seal it there. But the good news for the Vulcans is the quarterback won't be playing this week for Mercyhurst. He's been out most of the year with an injury. The wide receiver that torched him in that game is now graduated. But again, Brandon Brown-Dukes and Richie Sanders, 2 guys who I swear have been there since Mercyhurst joined the league in 2008, are still on that roster and still contributing big.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. It seems like every year we're writing players to watch. Brandon Brown-Dukes, he's always there. But this is a team, the Mercyhurst, that it's been a good rivalry since they joined the PSAC. California, first couple years, like they did with Gannon, pretty much handled them. And then there was that game, I think it was the second time Cal played at Mercyhurst. I think Cal was ranked 4th or 5th. They were in the top 10 in the country, and Mercyhurst pulled an upset. And it seems like ever since that point, it's been a pretty good rivalry between the two schools. I
think Cal's only won at Mercyhurst one time, I think, since they joined the league. And I know at least one time Mercyhurst has beaten the Vulcans here at Adamson Stadium. And they also went to overtime one game. I remember we were talking off air. Brian Justice making a pick in the dark. Basically, it was a night game, rain, cold, and it was just one of those things. Brian Justice makes a pick at the end zone to basically win the game. But it's been a good little rivalry between the two schools. You know what Mercyhurst is. They're sort of like that Edinboro. They're going to be that team that typically grounds and pounds. But last year they went a quarterback change, and you saw there 59 points. They could obviously score then. He's out this week, but they're still throwing the ball quite a bit. Their quarterback was named Player of the Week this week in the PSAC. James Harris with 4 touchdowns. Oh, he'd have a chance at it. Well, their quarterback threw for 4 scores and passed for over 300. So they're not afraid to throw the ball either.
It always seems that Mercyhurst, for whatever reason, I don't know, it's just one of those weird things. It seems like the later the season goes, the better they get. I mean, if you get them at the beginning of the season, you'll see on their schedule they'll take a loss, to someone that you don't expect them to lose to. Now this year, you mentioned they've had some injury problems, but this is a team that gets more and more dangerous as the season goes on. And obviously, their season has not, they had pretty high expectations coming into this, but, they know now that, they can play spoiler for teams.
It's one of those weird schedules you look at. They open the year with 3 wins. They lose 4 in a row, which is uncharacteristic of almost any team in the PSAC. And then they've won the last 2. So it's one of those things they can end the year looking at, okay, they see Cal in the regional rankings this week. Well, Cal did the same thing last week with Gannon. It's like Gannon was in those, and they basically dashed their chances. So it's one of those things I think Mercyhurst is looking at and say, okay, our seasons may be done, but we can still mess it up for somebody else.
Well, another big plot point to look at this coming Saturday's senior day for California. A lot of players playing their last game, more than likely at Hepner Bailey Field, Adamson Stadium. And that's an emotional time because you never want to leave, losing your last home game ever.
It's one of those things. It's not a huge senior class, but you look at the guys on it. You have Jeremy Seaman, Kuwan Scott, 2 fifth-year guys. You have Chad Seville, another 5th-year guy. James Harris, Earl Brewster came in this year. There's a lot of guys there that want to get that W there. And Kuwan Scott, James Harris, those are guys who every week I'm having to check the record book. Okay, who'd they pass this week? And obviously with Kuwan's play last week, he vaulted up in those books this week. And he's hoping to increase that. And he has a chance, outside chance, to possibly break a couple records before it's all said and done, if not make himself top 2.
He's definitely been one of the players that you can point and look back, because like I said, I'm lucky enough to see a lot of great Vulcan football over the last couple of years, and he's been one of those guys that you can point to ever since his first year here, he's one of those guys that you point to say he's a special player.
It's one of those, not too many guys come around and average about 17, 18 yards of reception for their career. Most guys end up around 12 or 13. But he's that guy. He had an 89-yard catch this week. He had a 95-yard catch last year. He's not afraid to go the distance. He has that speed, and he has that great size, too.
And before we talk a little bit more about the particulars about where, when, why, and how you can watch the game, let's take a look back and put a bow on last week's action in the PSAC, because we're at the time of the season when every game's going to impact playoffs. And let's look at the PSAC West scoreboard. I see California again, as we talked about, California doubling up the Golden Knights 42-21. Slippery Rock taking it to Edinboro. Edinboro still winless this year, 52-10. Mercyhurst and Seton Hill, that game was close early on, but Mercyhurst pulled away 41-13 at home on their senior day against Seton Hill. And then a game that was close until the very end, IUP and Clarion. Clarion trying to prove that they haven't gotten fat by beating easy teams, but IUP holding serve and beating them 28-14 in a game that I think was pretty much nip and tuck until the fourth quarter.
That was a must-win for both teams there for playoff possibilities. The loser of that game is probably going to be out of it, and probably looking at Clarion with who they have this week with Slippery Rock. Unless they pull the upset, their season will be done. But IUP still has a chance to get in there and possibly do something with the NCAA playoffs.
And let's take a look at the PSAC East scoreboards. Westchester over Cheney, 41-20. Shippensburg, surprising Shippensburg. They've been running the table since California beat them, 63-7 over Millersville. Kutztown 34, Lockhaven 20, and the game of the week, and probably the biggest surprise when I was looking at the scores in either Division I, Division II, or FCS, East Stroudsburg upsetting Bloomsburg 35-34, and pretty much putting a nail in any chance that Bloomsburg had to represent the East in the PSAC championship game.
It's one of those things I said in the past. You get Bloomsburg over 21, 28 points, you're really going to be struggling. And it's one of those things with Soltz as a quarterback for the Warriors. They converted a two-point conversion in that game that ended up being the difference. But still, Bloomsburg is one of those programs year in, year out. Everybody always looks at them, no matter the record, and says, okay, if we get this win, it might be a statement game for us this year and our program.
And let's take a look at the standings now after last week's action and after Week 9. See Slippery Rock, IUP, Clarion, and California all still in the top 4 spots. Looks like Slippery Rock, I would think, would have the inside track of representing the West in the championship game. But if they take a loss and IUP gets a win this week, then I think IUP would. Well, they definitely would, because they would have one loss. But pretty balanced PSAC West this year.
I think it's one of those things that you always expect Cal, Slippery Rock, and IUP to be there, but Clarion's that team. Everybody thought what? There's no way. Mercer or Scanning thought one of those two teams might finish the year up there, but injury bugs, and then Liam Nadler, he got knocked out of the game for Cal, the quarterback for Gannon. He's already been hurt a couple times this year. He's played twice actually without even practicing in the week, so that tells you the kind of injury bug that they've been hit with. And Mercer's quarterback's down. Seton Hill is one of those teams that may be down this year, but with what they've been doing progressively, I could see them definitely jumping at least into the middle of the pack next year.
Yeah, they're definitely building something there, especially from where they were just 2 years ago. We saw when they had a third-string wide receiver playing quarterbacks. They're definitely turning things around there in Greensburg. And over in the wild and crazy PSAC East this year, Shippensburg and Westchester are going to fight it out to see who represents the East. Bloomsburg and East Stroudsburg right there, but Bloomsburg, you got to think that's a disappointing season for them, 5-4. I think they're on a streak of some ungodly number, like 10, 15 years of having 7 wins in a row for 15 years or something like that. It was something crazy, so this is definitely a disappointing year in Bloomsburg.
It's one of those things you don't expect. 4-2, okay, maybe you see with Bloomsburg with the 4 in the far right column, you just don't expect. And it honestly could have been 5 with that game with Cal. It's one of those things I think if the Vulcans had to do over again, they might do a couple things different, and that was a game that sort of got away. They could have easily been 4-5, and for Bloomsburg, that would definitely be a panic stake. But still above 500. But Ship Westchester, it's going to be great to see those two teams go at it down the stretch here to figure out who goes to the PSAC championship game.
One more note on Bloomsburg. It's been that bad of a year for Bloomsburg that the blimp that got loose last week took out the power in Bloomsburg for about 8 or 9 hours, I read. So not a good fall of 2015 in northeastern Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at the schedule for this upcoming week in the PSAC. Very important games. This is the last weekend of divisional play, and everything will be kicked off by 2 o'clock. Matt, what do you see on here? What game would you schedule, or would you circle if you're a fan, or or someone looking at playoff implications?
I think the East Stroudsburg, Westchester, and then the Shippensburg, Kutztown. Kutztown's beaten a couple teams this year that really messed up the PSAC East schedule for most people. And you just saw East Stroudsburg beat Bloomsburg. So it could be very interesting there down to the final week here with the PSAC East, looking at it there. On the west side, Clarion, Slippery Rock, you'd think with Slippery Rock being home, it's so hard to play up there that they'd be the odds-on favorite. And then with that victory, if they would win, would secure the PSAC West berth to the championship game.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me, not worries me, but interests me about the Clarion Slippery Rock game is, Clarion's back is against the wall. They know they basically have to win to try and, keep a positive spin on this season. Slippery Rock, maybe they're set for a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, they got bumped in the top 10 of the country. Maybe reading a little bit of the clippings. You never know.
And the other game that is interesting is the Gannon at Indiana game, because Indiana, they struggled a little bit. I think they had took a couple injuries on Saturday. So you never know. Gannon, after that game, I guess it's all going to depend if Nadler plays quarterback for Gannon, because they're an entirely different team with him playing. That's a game that, if Indiana slips up, that could put some question marks in the minds of the NCAA Regional Committee.
It's one of those things there. It's that time of year. You need to win, and you need to win big if you can. Try to impress those voters, D1, D2, D3. It doesn't matter. Scores do matter, and voters look at that. And
let's take a look at the latest regional rankings that came out late last night. As you see at the bottom, California breaking in for the first time this year at number 9, 6-3. They jumped Clarion. Really, last 2 weeks have helped them because with the way the ratings work, they beat a previously undefeated Clarion team and a Gannon team that had a lot of wins. So they're making hay last couple weeks of the season. No change to the top. Shepherd, Bowie State, both 8-0. Still don't know what the NCAA is going to do with the Bowie State situation with ineligible players, which seems to have been going on for the last couple weeks. And as we saw from basketball last year, I don't think they're going to rule on anything until the end. So guessing game.
Oh, yeah, it's got to keep everybody interested there. I mean, Cal's played 4 straight games against regionally ranked opponents, so that definitely helps the strength of schedule standpoint there. Anytime you play Slippery Rock, IUP back-to-back, and then Clarion and Gannon were both doing well up into their meeting with the Vulcans, so they helped out the Vulcan strength of schedule there because Virginia State hasn't done much to help it, and Bloomsburg hasn't either. But Shippensburg at least is helping it from that angle there, and with Lock Haven next week, you need as much wins as you can get from everybody else in your schedule.
And I believe, if I read the schedule, I think Assumption and New Haven might play one more time. I think Virginia Union still has to play Virginia State, so there's still some tough schedules tough teams on the schedule. And also, Indiana, if they don't play in the PSAC championship game, and if Westchester doesn't play in that, they play each other, and that's not an easy trip to go out to Westchester and win.
Very interesting, too. Not one single PSAC East team represented the top 10 there. So it'll be different to see with that 7 teams now, see how it affects in the next week or two. But you still need to take care of business and win every game on your schedule.
And the next game on the California schedule is this Saturday against Mercyhurst, November 7th. 1:00 p.m., senior day. Come on out. I believe, and I'm going to knock on wood here, that the weather looks like it could be okay.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
The weather looks great on Tuesday. It's always horrible on Saturday.
So bring a raincoat and bring some warm gear, but also bring a short sleeve shirt. I think we might be okay this Sunday or this Saturday. But 1:00, if you can't be there, watch it live on KyleVulcans.com. If for some reason your computer won't load up KyleVulcans.com, you can listen to it on WCAL's online service. Download the app, or also listen to it off their web feed. And if that doesn't work, then come Monday at 6, Tuesday at 4, you can watch it on CUTV, and then sometimes Tuesday in the afternoon, depending on how fast the internet is in the Natali Student Center, you can watch it on YouTube. So once again, no excuse for not being up to date with Kyle Vulcan's football. And also, if all that doesn't fail, Matt and his staff will be live tweeting with their thumbs or their finger. I don't know how you do. Is it a computer?
We use a computer.
Okay, just a little pulling the curtain back there, just to see.
It's a little bit more accurate for spelling than using your phone.
I always imagine you and your staff sitting there and like, you guys got your hands full there. So I'm sure there's an easier way of doing that. So hope to see everyone on Saturday. Like I said, come root with the Vulcans on, as you saw with the regional rankings. California in 9th, so need all the help they can get and all the support they can get to try and make that final push to get back in the NCAA Division II playoffs. For Matt Keifer, I'm Gary Smith. You've been watching Vulcans Football 2015 right here on CUTV.